Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are here to discuss the Season 2 finale of HBO's The Last of Us. We have been talking about this with you guys week to week, recording this a little bit later because of the Memorial Day weekend, but I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
What's going on?
And Mark Jacobino.
Hey, everyone.
We got all three of us here, the whole crew, the whole Last of Us crew for the finale. We've talked a lot before we started rolling, so excited to talk about this with you guys. Again, if you're joining us for the very first time, Liz and I have not played The Last of Us 2. I played the first game, but Mark has played both games. So Mark is our reference point for the significant adaptation and what they decided to do. But in my research, again, there are a lot of creative liberties that did take place in terms of the series comparatively to the game. And that also is with this, I believe, as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but even the arrow going in Dina's leg, that's not in the game. It's another character, correct?
Yeah, I think Ellie gets shot by the arrow, but I think, they take Dina out of the situation in a different way. And yeah, there's some things in this episode that are a little different as well.
Okay, so we'll dive into all of that. But the biggest thing is that this is the wrap-up of a season. This is the end of Season 2. And coming off of last week's episode where we were discussing how the showrunner, Craig Mazin, wants to potentially do a fourth season for the show. And now knowing where we end up at the end of this, before we jump into spoilers, Liz, as someone who had no idea what was coming, has no reference to the characters, anything like that, are you more satisfied than you thought you were going to be, or are you disappointed with the way that Season 2 ended?
I can't say I'm disappointed because I truly had very low expectations, but I'm just kind of like bleh about the whole finale. Like it really, they gave us not much to work with, like for a finale, and so I just kind of I'm not disappointed because I had low expectations, but like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about this show besides negative things. And this whole time I've been saying negative things. And so I don't know what else to say.
No, I mean, you're allowed to say negative things. But all right, Mark, you're someone who you talked about it every week, right? You said that it is a game that is beloved by a lot, but it's also hated by a lot of people. It's a very divisive game in general. They decide to go that way with Season 2. And it ends where I think you kind of thought it would end. You had said early on when we did our first episode for this season that you were like, there could have been creative liberties and you thought HBO might take it a different way. But after seeing the way that they ended it this season, how are you feeling coming off of the finale, especially in comparison to the game?
Yeah, I thought they were going to, blend Abby's story in a bit more because they showed her motivation right from the get-go instead of kind of keeping it a mystery throughout the game. It definitely ended in a spot where I thought it could. I didn't think we'd get this far, especially with that shocking ending that I wish hit a little harder for people, because it is so significant. It's such a gut punch from not only our characters, but also for the opposing side and what we see happen to them. And I really wanted that to hit for audiences that hadn't played the game. But because the season has been so inconsistent, I don't think it hit for a lot of people, unfortunately. And yeah, the biggest thing coming out of this season for me, and I think I talked about it in our first episode, Darian, was that there was just some things bubbling up for me that I was like, I don't think this is going to go as well as I hope it would. And I think this final episode is just an encapsulation of all the flaws of this season just boiling over, the pacing, the character writing around Abby or Ellie specifically, and just the lack of subtlety. I think there's a big sequence in this episode that is just so unnecessary and is only there to give the audience information. And it just, again, is just saying the audience needs us to feed this information directly to them or they won't be able to figure it out. And we'll talk about it because I don't want to get into spoilers. But so this was definitely disappointing for me because, again, the game was such a visceral experience for me, and I think it's so ambitious in the story it wants to tell. Even though it is a revenge story, I think the way they went about it was like they took a swing, and for some people it hit and some people it missed, but I really wanted to see them do a little bit better this time around, and I don't think they did.
Yeah, I, as someone, again, who hasn't played the second game, but really enjoyed these characters a lot through the first game, and there were good nuggets throughout the season that I enjoyed. Like Isaac is a character that I wanted to see more of. Even Abby, I thought Kaitlyn Dever's work with the limited amount that she had to do, she did a really great job. So I agree. Excited to kind of see what happens with her character. And I do think, based on what I've heard about the second game, what they do is they kind of make you feel empathetic towards Abby in a way. I don't know if everybody felt that way playing the game, but it's like getting someone like Kaitlyn Dever might actually benefit that in terms of the character. But I agree with what both of you guys are saying. I can't remember a show that had such a significant drop off for me that was a continuation. Like White Lotus, like a show where, like, I think I gave season 1. Well, we didn't review season 1 on the channel, but I think I would have given season 1 like an 8 or an 8.5. I'm not going to get into my score yet, obviously, till the end. But the drop off is so significant for me in terms of this, and I just felt like the writing completely went awry in this season. I thought that Bella Ramsey's portrayal of an older version of Ellie didn't really seem to connect with me as an audience member, and it didn't seem like it connected to a lot of people that played the game, and it was a different kind of portrayal of the character than people were used to. And so I think that then there's other characters that are significant that I just like. I wanted more Tommy. I didn't feel as connected to Jesse as I feel like people were in the game. Like, there's a lot of things with the characters with a season that introduces so many new characters, including some that aren't even in the game, that I wanted to get more from, and I didn't get it. So I'm a bit disappointed, but I'm disappointed in the season overall. I shouldn't say the finale, like you said, Liz. I think it was, as things were kind of happening week to week, I was like, okay, I can see it kind of going this way. And this is what I said for last week's episode, I think it was, where I was like, it was a good episode of the season. It was probably the second best episode of the season, but it's leading us all to what? And this is what we wind up getting in the end. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely not what I expected from a finale. And
or like there's a lot happening too, of very, very quick pace with like big moments. And again, it to me is just a big pacing issue, because some of these big moments, I think that some of them I think could have been in last episode. And like they could have actually spread this episode out a little bit more to give weight to those big moments and to let the audience really feel the weight, kind of, I feel like, is what Mark was talking about, of things were just, oh, this happened, and now 2 minutes later, another big thing's happening, and just buckle up, everybody, because from now on, it's going to be really big, and it's going to be crazy, and then all of a sudden, just kidding, we're going to go back 3 days in 2 years. Like,
yeah.
I think them building tension in this season was really poorly done.
Well, I think the biggest issue that shows the difficulty of adapting a game to a show is that there's gameplay sections between these big moments.
Yes.
So when you're jumping from the greatest hit to greatest hit from a game that's spread out over 30 hours, it's crazy. So, the whole hospital sequence is a full gameplay section. But in this, she gets right in, or, a couple episodes ago, she gets right in, she kills Nora, then she's back at the theater, no problem.
And we don't get to see how she gets out. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
And then the aquarium sequence in this episode, that's a whole gameplay sequence. So then there's building up to getting to that moment where things go bad. And in this, you just get all of it just shoved in 40 minutes. And it's just like the pacing is not as spread out as it should be, because the game allows that to happen. And also the gameplay is important to Ellie's character progression. Like, she's killing people periodically in the game, and that's building up like this degradation of the character. Like, she is murdering people, she's losing her soul, and we don't see that. We just see these moments of her and Dina just having a grand old time on the road.
So the way that they cut through the tension with humor in this season has been really, really jarring. And I think part of it is also because of the writing. Like, it's writing that doesn't make sense in terms of the pacing of the episodes, but also the lines that are being delivered and the way that certain scenes are playing out. Liz is like fed up. I really want you to just rave on it, but
no, I keep going. I want to hear your thought on
I
this.
think that the biggest thing with this season for me has to deal with the writing and the characters, because the action sequences, again, like, I think the action sequences are incredibly well done in this season. I think the production design is fantastic for the show. Yeah. I think the art direction is just as good as it is in the game. It's nothing like that. It has to do with the core of the actual what makes a show operate, right? And what Mark was talking about, and in video games, it's like the part of the reason why people love The Last of Us was because the cutscenes were so cinematic and they were executed in a really great and efficient way that felt like it could lend itself well to a television series or a movie, whichever way they decided to go with it.
Right.
Now, and again, that's my experience of playing the first game. I didn't play the second game, but I've seen cutscenes from the second game, and it hits harder even if you don't play the game because of how well it's done. In this version of The Last of Us, it doesn't play as well, and it makes it feel, which is crazy to say, but because you're watching live action actors, but like it makes it feel so much less significant. It's insignificant, and it doesn't make you feel or care for these characters. Like I came out of this, like this season, I think you were saying this too along the way, Liz. I don't give a shit about anybody, and that's a problem. That's a problem for a show where you're supposed to be rooting for a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I also think, because there's so much humor and lightheartedness in this show, we kind of lose the focus that everything that's pushing Ellie is revenge. And it's just hard to like stay on that that track with her when it's like, okay, we're revenging. We're going to kill a bunch of people in order to get back at them. But then she's having like the time of her life and like a fun little like love romance trip, which I get, but like it just feels a little bit of whiplash for us to go from giggling and saying like I love you and like I'm gonna be a dad, oh my god, and then all of a sudden she's brutally murdering somebody and like is changing, and it feels almost like rather than a gradual change and letting like this world take over her, it feels very bipolar in a way.
Yeah,
like she's having bipolar breakouts is kind of what it sounds like. It feels like to me watching the show.
Yeah, it feels like now they've committed to her changing. Like this last moment, like now we've committed to her like losing herself, and now she's fully committed to revenge. Whereas, and again, like in that last scene, and can we go into spoilers?
Yeah, we're gonna start talking spoilers at this point. So if you guys haven't watched the finale yet, pause this, watch it, come back, hear the rest of our conversation.
So like the last scene when she's talking to Jesse and oh my gosh, Tommy, and they're like, all right, it's time to give up on your quest for revenge. And she's like, I guess it'll do. But we hadn't built up really that much because, she kills Nora, then she comes back and she's still kind of the same Ellie. And then she, kills, a pregnant mother and Owen. And now she's like, oh, okay, now it's an issue. And in the game, she was still committed, but she was like reluctantly like, okay, I'll go home with you guys because that's what's for the best. But here, it just happens in such quick succession. You don't really feel the weight of her like being really deep in the hole and then them having to drag her out of it.
Well, I think too, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in the game, she kills Mel's character, the pregnant woman, in a different way. And does she, like, there's no conversation between the two of them about her being pregnant? She, like, realizes after the fact, or does she ever realize?
It's more of a tussle. So, like, Owen and Mel are kind of, like, stuck up, and then Owen tries to reach for her gun. She shoots him in the stomach. He dies, and then Mel tries to get her with a knife. She, stops her, and then she turns the knife on her. She dies. She falls down. And then she actually goes over to Owen to make sure he's dead, and he's like he can't really speak because he's dying, but he says something like pregnant. Like she makes it out and she's like, no. And she runs over, flips the body over, opens the jacket and sees the stomach. And then she kind of like almost throws up. She's
already dead.
Yeah. She like throws up. She like falls on the ground. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. And I don't want to say like the show did a bad job here again, but it's like, it's almost so overly dramatic. Like, we were talking about in Andor, like everything just felt realistic and grounded, like things just happen. But in this, it's like, of course, like the mother's dying breath, she's like, I'll talk you through a C-section. Like, really? Like, like really? Are we really going to do this? It's so over dramatized.
Yeah.
And it didn't even happen. So I don't know why we had to like put into the like our minds of like, oh, we're about to watch a C-section brutally happen right now.
Yeah. I thought that's what we were going to get.
I thought we were going to see a botched C-section happen. And I was about to be like, oh my Jesus Christ.
Well, so there's a lot of graphic stuff in this show. Especially with the Seraphites that we've talked about too. And it's almost like I don't want to say it's not earned, but it makes it feel more for that dramatic effect because it doesn't play in relation to our characters. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, like tonally, yeah, because it's so inconsistent. Like you go from the super gore fest to then again these lighthearted moments, and then we're back into the gore fest, and it's just like jarring when a revenge story you have to really put your audience in that mindset. Like you have to be deep in that to really understand it. And again, empathize with Ellie to the point where you loved Ellie in the first season. You've seen this girl grow up, and now you're seeing her go down this horrible path that, you know, in part of you, you're like, this is kind of justified because I love Joel. But then there's another part of you that's like seeing her kill Nora brutally, and you're like, all right, Ellie, come on, we got to come back, girl.
Bring it back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you could have just taken her out. You didn't have to make her suffer if you really wanted to just kill this girl.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just don't think they've done a good job of really just like sinking us into this dark world because of these lighthearted moments.
And another thing, so I wanted to know the scene where Ellie and Jesse are stuck like in the car, the garage kind of, and they're watching the boy get like dragged out.
Oh yeah.
Is that in the game or is that new? Because that was also a very confusing moment for her, because it's like she's about to blow her cover for this random person, but yet she's killing a bunch of people.
Liz, remember, Ellie is stupid and she's spontaneous. You remember, we're not subtle. We have to let you know. We have to let you know again, as the audience, that she is impulsive and stupid. But I agree. It was not a good scene because she's on this selfish request for revenge. She lectures Jesse about, oh, you're being selfish, Jesse, for not voting, and then she wants to save this Seraphite. Yeah, again, and stupid. It just makes her character so dumb because she's supposed to be a survivalist. Like, why would you go out there against 6 armed people for someone you don't know, and you have no connection to the Seraphites, really? You've only seen the one, like, mass grave in the streets. Like, why would you have this crazy...
Plus, you saw the Seraphites do the other side of it and shoot the love of your life in the leg with an arrow.
Right.
So it doesn't... Yeah, tonally, the show is so inconsistent, like you were saying, Mark, that it makes it really jarring for viewers. Like, it doesn't feel like you're watching a television show. It feels like you're following the life of, like you said, like this person that's either bipolar or so incredibly immature that they're willing to just throw caution to the wind just to get their goal. And the scene with Jesse, which I don't know if that was what you were alluding to, but the scene with Jesse when she decides that she's going to go to the aquarium, to me, was when I texted you when I was watching. And I was like, Ellie is so unlikable as a character, that it just doesn't, it makes you not care. Like, at that point, I was like, I kind of hope, like when Jesse's like, I hope you make it back. I'm like, I kind of hope you don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I kind of hope you don't. And then she gets on a fucking jet ski, which was crazy. Like, it was boat. It just didn't, it played, like you said, Mark, it played so over the top and so over dramatic and so, like, again, that one track mind. But then you see these other moments where you're supposed to be feeling the dramatization and you're supposed to let these, you talked about this a couple weeks ago, letting the moments breathe and actually making the characters feel like they're characters instead of going like here to here to here to here emotionally. And that's what you get throughout the show. And so it just, in that scene, I was just like, oh, I fucking hate you. Like, I don't like you right now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he's the one that's saving her. He's the one that's getting an arrow out of her leg. He's the one that's like, I need to now get you guys home because my child is in her and we got to figure this out together. And she's just like, no, fuck it. There's a Seraphite. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense character wise. And it just doesn't, like, it doesn't work for television. Like, and I don't think that's the way the character is in the game either, but
I don't know. I hope she's not like that in the game.
She's not. The scene.
Was that what you were alluding to, Mark, before when you were saying like they fed it to us on a silver platter? The audience.
Talking about the boat?
I was talking about the boat scene, like why she goes to the like that whole island sequence. But I do want to stay on this moment where she's talking to Jesse in that building, and they're looking out, and they have the sniper, and they see Tommy, or they think it's Tommy. And she just gaslights him, and she's like, no, you're selfish. Like, you're selfish for voting no. Like, if it was your person, like, you would be out here. I'm like, this is like a false equivalency. Like, what do you... it's like what you said. You can be mad at Ellie or anyone that's on this revenge quest because you know they're not thinking clearly. But there still has to be a piece of them that you understand. But she's just irrational.
Yeah.
And here, like, she just gaslights Jesse, and like you said, it just makes her so abrasive and unlikable that in the game, again, you're supposed to still align with her. And now, like, you guys are more excited about Abby's story than Ellie's story, and that's not good, because now Abby's story is just going to happen and you'll probably like it, and there won't really be that tension between the characters
of wanting one to succeed, of who should succeed and who should like not.
Exactly.
I also think that they're just overkilling us with the theme of like, well, like, you fight for the people that you care about, and so like they're fighting for their people and you're fighting for your people, and like, yes, you might kill that person, but then to that person, like, you killed their like, I get it, we get that that's like what the overall umbrella concept is. Stop reminding us of that and just show us like what the story is, and then let us put that on the actual context of the story, rather than having an entire scene talk about it. Like, that drove me crazy when they literally had to say, well, I'm fighting for my clan and you're fighting for your clan. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, like we've been seeing that. We've been seeing that.
That's the entire concept of this show at this point is I kill for my people, and I don't care that it's your people that I'm killing.
Yeah, and I guess it's more. I don't know if it's more brutal in the game, or it's more that, like, again, it just becomes second nature, because as a character, your job is just to get from point A to point B, and you'll get there whoever you need to get there. But that's the thing with, like, the Seraphites, you get a little bit of them, but there's not enough to really understand their side either, if you even get that in the game. The same thing with the Wolves. Like, all we see, like, the fact that Owen and Mel, we don't see their characters well, I guess you build on them more in Abby's story, I guess, right? Like, okay. So yeah, so I guess we'll see more of that. But like you're saying, like, based on what I understand of the second game, when you get to a certain point and it flips, that the player of the game is more like, wait a minute, what's happening right now? Why am I playing this game as Abby? What you're saying is, which I think is accurate based on our interpretation, by the time we get to the end of Ellie's version of this story, we're more looking forward to getting Abby's perspective than we care about Ellie as a character and what her motivation is.
Based on the show.
Yes.
Based on the show, yes, agreed.
In the game, it's much more like you really love Ellie first, and then you're forced to love Abby in a way.
You're forced to play as Abby, and a lot of people
and understand Abby. At least that's what
the goal.
Druckmann wanted to get
goal.
Out of it.
Yeah, but when you're shoved into it, you're like, no. And then after the last thing you see her do, which is kill Jesse, and now like there's the standoff at the theater, you're like, what the hell? And then you have to.
So that's how it ends: is her killing Jesse, and then there's a standoff, and then flip. You have to go back to day one Seattle and play as Abby.
That's what you were alluding to. I feel like last week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so, is this where you thought this season was going to end, with that standoff, or no? You didn't think we were going to end on the standoff?
I didn't think we'd get all the way here. I thought we would either end when she killed Nora or the pregnant girl. Like, I thought those would kind of be the points where we're like, you kind of end the season, and an audience who hasn't played the game, you just see like Ellie going to this dark place, and then it kind of cuts, and you're like, oh my gosh, or something like that. I honestly would have
hated that, because honestly, when you saw that it was the pregnant lady, I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, this is very full circle right now, and I thought then it was just going to be like her going home. I even thought that they were maybe going to start leaving Seattle for a little bit, but I don't know. Then after that, it was just like, boom, 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 boom. Like, Jesse dies. Then we were having a standoff. Just kidding. You don't find out what happens. And then we're back in Seattle. Yeah, you see Tommy
for 2 seconds. Now Tommy is either injured or is being... Yeah, I agree. I think that it would have been more substantial if they did end it on that final moment with her and Mel.
And then let us really sit with it of like...
Then you open season 3 with
to do that, but
Jesse dying.
Yeah.
Which also could have been significant.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah, they could have went a lot of ways with it, but they went this way.
Yeah, man. I don't know. So that's another thing. For people, I'm so curious. If anybody is watching our review and has watched the show week to week, like I know my friend Taylor watches the show. Hi, Taylor. And she loves the show. She was a big fan of Pedro. Like, loved Pedro as Joel. Really fell in love with his character. Didn't play the games. But if you didn't know that this was going to happen, like if you didn't know in the game that you then shift to the perspective of Abby, because on television it doesn't play the same. It doesn't play the same as it would in a game, because now you have to sit there. And again, that's not to say that like if you were a player of the game, you might be like, wait a minute, why am I playing as Abby right now? And then you might do it for like an hour, and then you're like, I don't want to do this right now. And then you turn the PlayStation off, but then you're eventually going to return to it because you want to get to the end of the story. With television, it's not succeeding. So one of the things I showed you guys before we started rolling is that the viewership is down. Now, here's the significant reason why I think that's such an important thing to bring up in this review. That is because the numbers are going down with Ellie's story. The numbers aren't going down with Abby's story right now. People are not tuning in anymore because we've gotten less of Abby. Like you've been talking about, you're like, I want to see more of Abby. I want to see what is happening now with her character. What is happening? Like
you keep going, and then even the quick clip they showed of her, I was like, I don't know if you noticed
at the end, you're saying
she has like a mark on her.
Oh,
neck.
the noose mark.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on with this girl? Like, we need to get this story, and now that I have to wait like 2 years for them to film this show,
they started filming 3 weeks ago for season 3.
Oh God. Keep going.
I want to hear your take, because again, you have like no reference point of any of it. You did watch season 1, obviously, but you've never played the games.
No.
And these are characters that like, so give me, I know you said you have only negative things to say, but give me the things that you were intrigued by this season and that you're upset that we didn't get answers to.
I wanted to see more of the wolves and the, how do you pronounce it? Seraphites. I wanted to see more of them, and not just quick clips of them like shooting each other or like ripping each other's guts out. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of like how we got to this place and what they both are working toward. Like, I must have missed it, but I don't understand.
What the wolves and the Seraphites are working towards.
Yeah, what are they working towards right now? Like, do they just want to obliterate each other, or are they working toward like taking over a certain land? Are they trying to like get something? Like, I just don't really know what they're both doing besides trying to kill each other. But I guess maybe that's the point, because that's a game. The game, you just kill people. Maybe.
Yeah. So this is another, adaptation thing. In the game, you aren't really introduced to Isaac, from Ellie's perspective. And Isaac,
you don't see him till Abby's story.
Not that I don't remember seeing him with Ellie's. Like, you're fully like one track minded just with Ellie. Like, that's the world you're seeing, and she's on this journey. Of course, she's fighting WLF and Seraphites to get to Abby because there's this turf war going on. But you don't really get anything. And it's really Abby's story where you learn about all this stuff. But I think in TV, for some reason, they wanted to introduce this conflict, I think maybe to try and do what you were looking for. Like, you wanted to understand maybe the context of it before they introduce it. Because in the game, you're just thrown into it and you're like, okay, now I have to understand it. But in the show, in their way that they wrote it, they're like, oh, let's introduce Isaac in season 2, and let's introduce the wolves and the Seraphites and maybe some background into them in season 2 with Ellie. And then when we get into it in season 3, you'll have some background and a foundation. But as you can tell, like, I don't think it really worked doing it like that, because Isaac, you get these like little vignettes, and then you end the season with him going off on a boat, and it's like, okay. And you have these two cultures that you don't understand, and then you'll learn more about them in season 3. But I think the important point is that people that didn't play the game, they should be interested, maybe not left feeling hanging. Like, you felt left hanging here with
like,
the
I just feel like
wolves.
what they're doing is they're giving us a little tiny crumb that like I'm picking it up and I'm like, okay, what is the significance of this crumb, and like what are we going to find out next episode about this crumb, and then we just absolutely never come back to that crumb.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm curious on like, what if they decided to just do because we've also been talking about how they made this like a 7-episode season. Like, why not just make it a well-rounded 8 and just follow Ellie? Like, obviously we get the thing with Abby. I think like the intro to Abby and the obvious Joel episode, I think, are good, but then showcasing these other characters throughout the way. But I guess you have to do that because that's the way it plays in the game. I just don't know. I don't know how they could have structured it differently, because I think that a part of it, unfortunately, is the writing too. Like, so many of the scenes that play with our bigger supporting characters don't play, like you're talking about, like realistic. Like they don't play like they would. Like the only scene that I really enjoyed between like two characters that was significant was her and is it Nora? Tati Gabriel's character, the black one, who she kills
in the
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Her name's Nora, that character.
Nora, yeah.
That sequence, I actually like. You could feel the momentum going. I felt like you could feel like the vengeance in Ellie, but I just didn't like the way that they cut it to black and then they showed us a flashback of Joel, because I was just like, okay, again.
They love doing that.
Yeah.
They really love cutting just to make it seem like, oh, the episode's done, and then show a quick segment of what's to come.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing for me is that this season doesn't have a conclusion. It just gets us to a different point of view. That's how they decide to change and flip the season on its head to give you something significant to go into season 3. Be like, okay, now you're going to be following Abby's story. But there's some people that might be like, I don't really care. Like I was rooting for Ellie, and now like you made me not like the character. So why do I care about Abby's motivation? We already know that Abby kills my favorite character, it's Joel. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going toward?
I want to jump a little bit, and I want to find out from you, Mark, the whole thing about her going onto the island.
Oh,
what
yeah.
What were your thoughts on that? And why did you feel like they were spoon feeding us?
Okay, so this isn't in the game, and I think you could tell that because of how just abrupt it is. You know, she's on this path to the aquarium. She gets hit by a wave. She lands on the Seraphite Island.
And her boat's fine.
Boat lines up perfectly with that shoreline. She gets hung, and then the village gets attacked, and they all just leave her. She gets back.
Let her go. First of all, you're telling me those animals aren't going to rip her, be like, kill her now and then let's go? Oh, let her go. Let her go. What?
Yeah. So they hang her. And then they're like, we need to go back to the village. So then we leave her. And then Ellie gets back on the boat. And we're right back onto the plot to get to the aquarium. And for me, the only justification I can think of why they would include this scene is to simply say that the Seraphites are on that island. And that's where Isaac and all those people were going. But that could have been done with, you see Isaac leave on boats to go towards an island, and then all you need to do was show that explosion.
Yeah.
All you need to do was Ellie's going towards the aquarium, sees explosion on the island. Oh shit, what's going on over there? Obviously, Isaac is going there to do something. It's a huge operation.
That's what I figured.
He says to the other commander, he says, I'm not going to be alive tomorrow morning. You might not be alive either. Like, we get that they're going to do a big mission, and they're only fighting one group. So it's like, this is HBO. Like, this is prestige TV. Your audience can piece things together. So the fact that they put this whole sequence in here just to confirm that, which is, I think, I don't know. Do you guys think that there's any other reason?
I think there's a reason why, but I think it's stupid. And again, not seeing it. So you talked about how there's the mark on Abby's neck of the noose. And I think that there's going to be something significant in the parallel of that with the two of them. I don't know, like to play, like, again, as you play in the game, you start to pick up the parallels of Abby's pain comparatively to Ellie's pain. That could be something. And I know that in the game, there is like a hanging attempt on her, correct? In the game.
Don't spoil it.
I think there is.
Don't spoil it.
I'm saying I think there is in the game.
Okay.
With the Seraphites. So I'm saying like that's something where that's why they would decide to do that, because they're like, oh, let's let the audience understand that like it's happening to both characters.
Boo.
I'm just saying that's what I think. I'm sorry for spoiling.
No, it's okay.
But I mean, I figured that that's what it was because they showed us like the line on her throat, but I don't know. I felt like it was almost kind of just to be like, look, Ellie's not being phased. She's on her mission, even though she almost died. Like, she's still going. Girl. And also, another thing, when she was up talking to Jesse on, like, the cliff, and she's like, look, the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is so far away. Can we just talk about? Like, so far away
she
in
gets
that
there
shot.
quick.
She gets there way too quick. Like,
again, the gameplay sections in between the pace, like the pacing just goes crazy because, of course, like there's a whole gameplay sequence of her fighting through WLF and Seraphites to get to the aquarium.
It's not
but
just
here,
a quick boat ride.
It's just like that night.
No, we need a jet ski. Just get her on a jet ski.
She's
a boat ride.
She's there that night, no problem. All those people, all those reinforcements going after the sniper. Nah, I'll get there.
Yeah, like even so, I want to for both of you guys when Ellie kills Owen and Mel. Even that, I felt like it just came so quickly. Like, she's just there, and then these characters are just gone. Like, did you feel similar? Like, it was just jumping from Like you were talking about, like boom, boom, boom. Like
No, that moment didn't feel very quick. Like that felt warranted to me. Like it didn't feel very rushed. It was after, because I thought that it was going to be like, oh, this is the major moment of this episode. Okay. They're going to show us like how messed up now Ellie is after killing somebody who was pregnant and then having to go back to Dina, who is pregnant. And I was like, all right, so it's just going to be very heavy. And then all of a sudden it's like, they hear, Tommy's there. They hear yelling. Jesse dies. The gun goes off. And then we're like, that sequence for me was what really brought it down. I didn't think that the killing of the two people was that crazy.
I didn't think it was crazy. I just thought, I think like you talked about, there's so much that happens. There's just too much that happens in this episode.
I think if they left it there with her having to go back, and then like if they really wanted to end it on like a gasp, end it with them having to run because they hear like a gunshot go off or something. Like have it ending like that, and they don't know what's happening or what's going on. But I just felt like, also, Jesse, I don't really care that he died. We barely even got to know the guy at all. We had like 3 scenes with him this entire season, and I feel like the people that played the game probably it meant more to them. Like, right, Mark? It probably was a bigger death when he died.
I will say one of the big criticisms of the game was Jesse's character not being that fleshed out. So it was more. I think it was kind of like the same. It was just shock value. Not that we didn't care about Jesse. Again, Jesse in the show feels more like a babysitter for Ellie and Dina and less of like their friend. In the game, there's much more of a camaraderie between all of them. But here, it just seems like he's always just angry at her, and she's always angry at him. And yeah, so it was more shock value in the game, which, again, they could have improved here, but obviously it didn't land. I do want to say one nice thing about this episode with Jesse's character. I did like the addition of that dialogue of him finding out about Dina being pregnant and then saying, like, I don't have to get you guys out of here. I now have to get my kid out of here. I was like, that's good. I was like, that's good. That's a good addition to the character. So, that was one moment I was like, okay, that is what we needed more of throughout the season, because that was an addition. I don't remember that being in the game. So that was new, and it added a lot to that struggle. Yeah.
Do you know the thing with the Grover book too? Like the cleverness of that? Because I do like the significance of that, but again, it would go over the heads of 99% of people.
No, I don't know what that is.
I saw someone talk about it, but
it's not. Is it in the game?
It might be like an Easter egg kind of thing.
So she picks up this book that it's like, I forget the name of the book, but it's like something like Watch Out for the Monster or whatever. And the significance is that book, it's like a Sesame Street book with Grover. I think, that's Sesame Street. And the whole time he's telling you, like, don't get to the end of the book because, like, there's a monster that's going to come and get you. And at the end of the book, you find out that the monster at the end of the book is Grover. And they're saying, like, it's alluding to the fact that in the game, especially too, it's like with the journey that Ellie's going on, it's like at the end of the series, you're realizing that Ellie's the monster at the end of the day too, because she's the one that's not letting go of something to get all this insane revenge on all these people that's causing more chaos than necessarily good, and like moving on and things like that. So I did like that they play into something that's like a real world like relation to that. But still, it's like there's too much that's not clever, that, like you said, they spoon feed the audience, and
I know
they also just like beat you over the head with exposition that you don't need.
Yeah.
So
it's a cool detail, but again, like I feel like that's something that only works because of the hyper like detailed version of our world that we live in with like Easter egg videos and all. It's like, who is gonna catch that?
Yeah, exactly.
But like, it's cool. Like, I respect it, but at the same time, it's like if this show came out like 10, 15 years ago, like nobody's seeing that.
Exactly. That's a fair point. I don't know if there's really much else for me to say. I mean, I know we've been shitting on the episode for a while. The season in general, I guess, really quick, we'll just talk about for a few minutes before we get into scores. I think that this season has had one really, really good episode, one good episode, and then a lot of episodes with some good things in them. But ultimately, the bigger idea of where we were ending up, it was too lackluster to make it a positive experience for me overall. And I think coming off of season 1, which I know you weren't a huge fan of, but it did really good numbers for HBO. I really enjoyed season 1. I really liked the relationship with Pedro and Bella in season 1. And I was hoping with the star power they added in terms of acting caliber, I thought it was going to be a lot more significant. I thought Isabela Merced did good for what she had. I don't think that necessarily a lot of the stuff was her fault with Dina, with the writing. I like young Mazino as an actor. I really liked him in Beef. I didn't think there was much for him to do as Jesse. Tommy is a character that I really liked, and I feel like I didn't get much of Tommy in this season. Catherine O'Hara gets added in this season. We get a cameo from Joe Pantoliano. We get Jeffrey Wright. Like there's a lot of significant acting talent that's in this season, and it's a shame that it feels a lot worse than season 1. So that's how I feel about season 2 overall. How do you feel?
I really was having a positive tone and note about this show. I think for the first probably 3.5 episodes. And I think it's really once they got to Seattle that I was just kind of like, what's going on right now? Like there is too much happening, but also I feel like nothing's happening. And that's a horrible feeling to have as an audience viewer. I don't know. I think that they tried to stay really close to the arc of the game, which I understand you want to stay close to your source material, especially for everybody that played the game. Like they're very passionate about it and loved it so much that they want to see it well done. I think that they should have done a completely different structure. I think that they should have kind of given us more of Abby's story throughout the episodes, or like do it like the game and really shock us of who this girl Abby is that kills Joel. Like I would have been like, who the hell is this person if she all of a sudden took him out and we did not have any backstory. But again, like what I was talking about with the breadcrumb, to give us her backstory and then just be like, never mind. Like don't ask any questions about her because you're not going to get her for a while. Like what? Why give us anything? And I felt like that happened a lot, even with like Isaac. The wolves, like, just
they cheated you.
Yeah, it like gave me just a little bit, and then was like, never mind, we're never going to talk about this again. Which then why should I care? And then it gives me the notion of like I don't know what to care about because I don't know if we're actually going to get anything from that. So it started off good for me, and I just took a nosedive, guys.
Mark.
Yeah, I agree with you, Darian. I think there was 2 great episodes, and everything else I was pretty lukewarm on. Even from the first episode, I feel like a lot of people, I think even you were kind of like, no, I kind of like, where Isabel and Bella are taking this relationship to a degree. And I've been talking with my friends about it, and people are really liking it. And it just wasn't landing for me. And I was like, I feel like a lot of people are maybe overlooking some of these issues. And I think just now having the full package, you really see everything is exacerbated, and it's really unfortunate. I think Bella Ramsey again was good in season 1. I think she could have been good in season 2 if the writing was better. I think if they made her character more consistent, I think if they were a little more subtle with her character and less beating you over the head about her character traits. And I wanted to support them doing their own thing. Like I didn't need a 1-for-1 adaptation because again, for some people, the second game didn't work. And even the things that I'm saying about Ellie's character, like people that played the game didn't like that. They did not like that they took this innocent girl that we really liked in the first game and made her just this revenge-fueled machine. Like, don't even take my word for it on everything that I'm even saying about the game, because someone who played it could also say the complete opposite.
Yeah, experience.
I just wanted it to work out, because these moments were the ones I was thinking about. This moment where she kills a pregnant woman. This moment where Jesse gets shot. Like this moment where she's beating Nora with a pipe. Like all of these moments are like ingrained in my head, like visceral experiences that I had with media that I'm like, if they nail this, like other people will get that experience. And I think, maybe Nora worked a little bit, but I think these other moments just kind of landed flat, which is really a bummer. So I think season 3, as you guys have alluded to, has a lot of upside because Jeremy Wright, the WLF and the Seraphites. I think Abby's arc is pretty cool, even though some people don't like it. And the actress who plays Abby is really good. So season 3, there is hope. But
this could be very interesting.
It's going to be
a big jump because it's going again from this. I just think the viewership is going to be so down at that point. It's going to be really interesting. Like even if let's say that the first 3 episodes of season 3 hit really well.
Yeah.
I think people are going to wait. They're going to wait until the entire season.
How are you going to get people now back on board? when the viewership is down. Like,
Please.
Last time you seen it, Liz.
Yeah.
this might be out.
I might be out for next season. I might truly wait until like you guys watch the whole thing and then tell me if I should spend my time doing it.
Yeah,
or
well,
not.
so I alluded to it a little bit before with the viewership. So season 1 finale, they had 8.8 million viewers the first day of release concurrently, whether it was streaming or on HBO, and that dropped significantly for the season 2 finale at 3.7 million. And I know that HBO has talked about how it was Memorial Day weekend, but one of the other things that they talked about was that the season 1 finale was the same night as Oscar night, which has kind of concurrent viewership for at least some people. So I think that that's an interesting thing to note. Also, it had a significant drop off from the season 2 premiere at 5.3 million viewers, all the way down to 3.7 for the finale. So it's going to be interesting. And I'm curious because there are people I'm sure that did enjoy the season. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. But I think it's time for us to jump into scores because we have reached the end of the season. I will start. I'm very interested to hear everybody's scores for this. I feel like we'll all be in the same ballpark, but I'm not sure. This is one of the lower scores I've given. This is probably the lowest score I've given for a significant series. Because I was just really disappointed overall. I think that, like I said, episode 2 I thought was great. It hit exactly the way it was supposed to hit. Last episode, I thought, again, there was a lot of really good there, but so much of that is Pedro oriented. And again, that relationship with Joel and Ellie that is so significant. And when you lack that in the show, it significantly drops off a cliff. And I think that part of it is the writing. I think part of it is the acting, but
What you about to do, Darian?
overall, I am going to give it a 5.5 for the season. I don't think again, 5 would put it right at mid. I think, again, as I said in the review, I think the technical aspects of the show are still really, really good. I think all the stuff with the infected is great. I think that the art design and the production design, none of that stuff should go under the rug because there's so much significant work that is done by those artists. I don't even think the problem necessarily is direction for a lot of this. Maybe overall direction for the season, where you think about like the producers and how they decided to do it. But episode by episode, it's well directed. There are high moments for some characters, but it's too insignificant for me for a show of this caliber and this budget and this hype to give it more than a 5.5. So that's where I stand. Liz. She's going lower.
Oh my gosh.
I'm definitely going lower.
Oh boy.
I don't want to go too. God. I mean.
Gosh.
Maybe I'm not the audience. I'm gonna leave it at that. I maybe it's just not for me.
Live your truth, Liz.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
I'm a little bit more of a green tea type.
Okay.
This is like an Earl Grey, you know.
It's not hate on Earl Grey.
I'm just gonna. I almost gave it even lower than this, but I want to do a 5 because of what you said. That there were moments and scenes that I think were really great, but it's just the inconsistency for me it should not have the biggest HBO spot right now. Yes, I'm gonna do 5.
Okay, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, I was scared you were gonna go in the 4s. I was like,
almost
wow.
did.
I'm like, damn. I mean, it's not slop. It's not like garbage. I do think there are 2 really good episodes this season, and I don't think those should go unnoticed. I think there are good moments, like you said, kind of sprinkled throughout these episodes, but I think from the start, just overall, I was not bought in with the Ellie and Dina romance. I think that's such a core aspect of the game, and that it never landed for me here. I think Ellie's character is just all over the place, unfortunately, and the pacing, as we've talked about at length, was just way too quick towards the end of for these very significant moments. So, 6.5 feels good for me, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us.
We made it.
Along the weeks, we made it through.
See you later, Liz. Bye.
The Last of Us on HBO. We might have lost a viewer in Liz, but you know what? She was here for the ride, so we appreciate her for that. But seriously, let us know in the comments what are your guys' thoughts. Again, please don't leave comments and say, "Oh, you guys should play the game." No, we want to know your ideas on this version of The Last of Us, the series. If you played the games, we'd love to hear your comparison in terms of the game versus the television series. But please don't just point out that we haven't played the games, because trust me, we don't give a shit.
And I don't have a gaming system.
And Liz doesn't have a gaming system, so she can't play it unless someone wants to buy Liz a PlayStation. You could send it right here to our studio, and we'll give it to Liz.
And
How about that?
Then I will play the game.
There you go.
Wow.
I love that, Liz. But give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here. We haven't just been covering Last of Us. We have other television series we've been covering. Mark and I just finished a few weeks ago our wrap up of Andor season 2. We're covering The Studio currently, wrapping up our coverage on that. Daredevil Born Again. A lot of movie reviews upcoming for you guys. Lilo and Stitch should probably already be up by the time this comes out. The new Mission Impossible movie. We have the Karate Kid Legends movie coming. We have reviews for I'm Still Here. A bunch of other reviews that are up on the channel, so you guys can check that out. And then follow us on social media if you guys can. All that stuff is below me in the video right now. It's also in our YouTube description. We're everywhere you guys can find podcasts and clip outs, so please follow us all on there. But for just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I am Liz Seiko.
And I'm Mark Jacobino.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.